All right, welcome to Real Estate Success Podcast. I'm your host, Mena Badros, here today with Javier Nichols. Javier, man, great to have you here.
Oh, it's great to be here, man. Thank you very much for the opportunity.
For sure. Hey, before we dive into business, I'd love for people to get to know who you are as a person. So, without mentioning any professional accomplishments, can you tell people who Javier is?
Javier is a passionate, energetic, motivative, hardworking civilian that loves to uplift those around him. So that it was really tough because when you say without any accomplishments, right? You got to really because it goes without to say you want to showcase your accomplishments to show your hard work and your dedication. But that was a good question. I think that we all need to have a bio without our accomplishments in it and truly identify the true core of who we truly are, right?
Yeah.
So yeah, that's me in a nutshell.
I'm a fan of character, and that's why I ask this question because no matter what you're doing, no matter what your professional accomplishments are, we're all people, and we all live similar experiences. So I always try to get to the people side of us, right, before we dive into the specifics and the different things we do professionally. So professionally, what is it that you do?
So professionally, I sit on the board of directors for Pennsylvania Association of Realtors. I sit on the board of directors for Bucks County Association of Realtors. I am the chair of our new member success committee at the local level. I am the CEO of the new agent handbook. I am a RPR certified trainer for the state of Pennsylvania. And I'm also a realtor and a very passionate individual and a father of three. So that
Awesome.
is all of my job. And I'm a girl dad too, by the way. So let's make sure we put that in parentheses.
God bless. So you mentioned a lot of real estate stuff. Let me ask, how did you get started in real estate? Obviously, all of these hats didn't come all at once.
Correct. So I started in real estate right during my car salesman career. I sold cars for 7 straight years. I was number one for 5 years in the Sussman Automotive Group, located in Abington, Pennsylvania. And me and my wife, or my wife and I, purchased our first home. And during that purchase, we had an experience with our real estate professional that I felt was good overall, but it wasn't as great as I wanted it to be. However, me already being in sales, I was evaluating every step of the way and realizing that I was at a position in my career in the car selling world that it was only one way for me to go. Either I become a manager full time, which I've done in the past and I didn't like, or I become an owner of a dealership. Now, I don't know about you, but I don't have a couple $1,000,000 in my bank account to buy a dealership. So I decided, my wife actually decided, because she pushed me into it, of going to get my real estate license and realizing that real estate was something I didn't know I was going to be obsessed with until I learned more about it, learned about the history of real estate here in this country, understanding of the underserved communities, a lot of which I belong to, and understanding that there's so much room to grow in your personal life while helping others. So that's why I did it. And I'm so glad I did.
I love that. Let me take you back to the days when you were a car salesman, shopping for your house and evaluating everything. What stuck out to you that's missing? I'm sure you were looking at things from like a sales and service
Mhm.
perspective. So if you can remember back then, what stuck out to you that were gaps or areas of improvements from the real estate side?
Well, for the real estate agent herself, she was a referral from my in-laws. So she definitely was familiar with the community, but not as familiar. So one thing that I did pick up is understanding the different ways of getting a deal, right? Understanding the creative ways of looking at deals. I think that during that time, it would have been nice to know about the FHA 203K repair loan because that would have given us a leg up entering into a neighborhood that may have been out of our price range from the retail side, but from the perspective of repair loan, we would have been able to go ahead and get it done. So the creativeness of the deal structure and also understanding the communities, right? Understanding which pockets that we need to keep in mind based off of school district. And again, she did a great job because I'm sure she may watch this at some point. She did a great job, but one of the like those small little micro things that typically we miss as real estate professionals need to be a part of our everyday presentation and experience with our clients because we want them to have a plethora of options and creative ways to obtain real estate. And this is one of the things that I pride myself in focusing on.
Okay, awesome. Um, what would you say? Well, how has your career evolved then? Right, you got your real estate license. Obviously, you're doing a lot more now in real estate. Can you kind of take us really quick through kind of the journey and evolution of your real estate career?
That's an amazing journey. So it started out from me coming out of the car world, the car selling world, to me being number one, having great income, everything's phenomenal, to me coming into a world where I knew nothing. I mean, I passed my exam, but truthfully, once you pass your exam, you still don't know anything about selling real estate. You know all the
Yep.
basis. You may could tell how many square feet is in an acre, right? 46, 250, I think, right? So we know those numbers, but we don't know how to go about the experience. So once I got into real estate, it was really just about growing my business, reaching out, getting exposure, doing a lot of open houses, trying to get my name out there, and really identifying where the gaps were that other agents were missing. So once I started that, I then realized that there was a community out there of other agents who were experiencing the same thing as I was. So that's what led me to create the New Agent Talk, which was a workplace group inside of Century 21's workplace world. And it graduated into me becoming a trainer and a coach and a motivational speaker, and truthfully, just an environment that still lives today and has grown tremendously. So I came in not knowing anything and really trying to make a name for myself. And then it transformed to creating a culture and a community that always uplifts one another. And we're still together today.
So that's awesome, man. A lot of great work you've done and continue to do. Um, some of those gaps still exist, and maybe we even have new gaps in our industry, right? That have surfaced. And I know we can probably spend days talking about the gaps and the inefficiencies and the things we can improve in our industry. But just from a high level and from your perspective, what are some of the big gaps that you see? And let's talk about the agent, right? From the agent perspective. So not necessarily like top and corporations level, but really from the agent's perspective, what are some of the gaps that you kind of see right now?
Well, that's a good question, by the way. The gaps that I see right now are very simple. It comes down to educating the tenants, the renters in our community, giving them a fighting chance of owning real estate. The people who are on Section 8 housing vouchers, that's another gap. They are underserviced. A lot of landlords are uneducated on how to become a landlord for Section 8. And another gap will be utilizing the HUD home store system. Again, that FHA 203K. We don't see enough agents prioritizing that repair loan product because it's too complex from the surface. But once you peel it back, it's not complex at all. It's one of the easiest transactions you would ever do. So these gaps I'm finding to be pretty much the cornerstones of what we teach at the New Agent Handbook, but also still what I utilize to increase my business as a real estate professional and a realtor. So it's gaps always, but we need to focus on those gaps, and we have to be hypersensitive to those gaps and make sure that we're inspiring other agents to fill those gaps in their market. And another thing is linguistic training. I think linguistics is one of those things from a realtor. We have to get better at role playing and practicing how to communicate with our community at a much higher level. These are the basics of becoming a business owner, but more so becoming a better real estate professional. That's either a real estate agent or a realtor.
Man, there's a lot to unpack there. So I'm gonna try to simplify it and kind of pick at just a few things.
Yep.
One of the big solutions you kind of alluded to was education, right? Getting educated yourself as a real estate professional, and also being able to educate folks that you can serve, right? Um, how can one go about doing that? Because especially new agents, and I think just agents in general, we're coming to business, we're chasing a check, right? We're going after a commission. We get one, then we try to get two, and we go from transaction to transaction. Um, and there's not really, it's not like we're in a corporation where we have to attend orientation or we have to attend this. There's, yeah, some CE classes. Um, but the stuff that you just talked about, most of that stuff is not talked about, right? In real estate trainings and in regular real estate conversations. So how can kind of one get plugged into educating yourself and also being able to educate others, reach out to folks who this information can help?
Yeah, that's a great question. And I'm going to instantaneously let everyone know that we have a masterclass every Friday. And that's one of the best ways for you to plug in to a community of real estate professionals. And I know you have your masterclasses and your trainings that you're adamant about and making sure that people attend, because getting involved as a real estate professional is one of the best things you can do for your business. Not only does it give you a different perspective, but it keeps you in the know, because when you are reaching out and speaking to your community, there have been changes since the last time you've done so. And you need to know what those changes are. So education is one of those foundational pillars that we have to continuously go back to, go back to, go back to. You can't just say, hey, I've learned this, I don't need to learn it anymore. Because there are agents, I just hosted a training in Bristol, and it was over 100 years of real estate experience in that room. Everyone left us a phenomenal feedback review, a review on Google. And most of what they said is that they've learned something new. So for a person to be in the industry 40 plus years, still learning something new, that's what we need to see more of.
Yeah. Um, we can always learn, and I think even as an educator, uh, you know, they say some of the best ways you can learn is by teaching, right?
Yeah.
So you continue to learn yourself as you're growing.
Yes.
Looking back at when you began your real estate career, now knowing what you know, what would you have done differently, or what
Oh
would you
man.
have focused on if there wasn't anything different?
Man, that's a good question. I would have to say buying my first investment property sooner. I'm only going to say that because I cannot think of anything that I would have done differently. Because once I've gotten to the industry, I did about 46 open houses my first full year. And I focused on things that most agents did not focus on. That's what got me where I am today. So changing that perspective or changing that trajectory would not land me where I am. And I'm in the perfect spot as far as where we are as helping agents and being a pillar of leadership in the real estate community. So I wouldn't change anything other than going after my first investment property, which we purchased about 6 years after we bought our first house. And we bought our first house right around that 2016, 2017 timeframe. So our first investment property was obtained right around that 2020, 2021. So I would have changed buying an investment property maybe 2018, 2019, even though the market was insane around that time. But that's the
Yeah.
only thing I would have changed. Everything else I would keep exactly the same.
Well, the best time to plant a tree was 20 years ago. The second best time is now, right? So,
Seriously.
if you haven't, for those who are listening, if you haven't yet, there is no going back, but you can start now for sure.
Right. Do it, man. Get out
Um,
there, buy investment properties. Yes.
you mentioned you focused on things that other agents did not. Can you give us a few examples of that?
Yes, absolutely. So one of the things that I love doing is open houses. When I first came into the industry, I did not have a sphere of influence that was able to buy a home. Most of my fear of, my sphere of influence were people with lower credit and no money in the bank. That's the community that I'm from, and I understand that. So the traditional way of going about growing my business wasn't for me. And that's part of the reason why I created the New Agent Talk, because I was looking for other ways to get better. And while doing so, I was giving folks, insights on what I'm doing, such as the open house, such as the repair loan, such as making calls. And one of the things that I found that most agents were not doing is following up and also knocking on the doors during the open house. So for me, when I go into an open house, I am already, the moment that I have the open house chosen, which would have been on the Monday, by Tuesday, I already have identified the other homeowners who purchased their home at the same time as this homeowner that I'm going to host an open house for. So I'm going to go through their entire mortgage history to see if they pulled out any money in the last 5 years. If they did not, I'm going to leave them on the list, remove the others. And now I have a concentrated list of likely to sell clients. I'm calling them clients, not prospects, because I'm going to stay on them and make sure that they understand the difference from when they purchased to now. So for example, let's just say a house was marketed at $350,000, but they purchased a home 15 years ago for $120,000. So now when I'm knocking on these doors, I'm letting them know that we're doing an open house. And I'm also giving them a quick heads up. Hey, by the way, we're also letting folks know, like like yourself, who purchased in 2005, that homes are now selling for $350,000. This way, they are now building up that FOMO and more likely to reach out to me to have me list. And they like that I did the door knocking because they know if they hire me, I'm going to do the same thing for them.
That's gold right there, man. That's gold. For those who that's it. I mean, right there, he just broke down an open house strategy that can be very effective.
And I want to throw one last thing out there
Yeah,
just to
yeah.
kind of put it in perspective. Now, that's for the listing side, but for the buy side, what I did was if you attended my open houses, you've gotten on your way out a list of other open houses in the same price point in the same area. And the reason why that's important is because I give you the list. You're kind of taken aback by it. You're like, oh, okay, thanks for giving me a list of where else I can go to shop. But what I'm really doing is I'm leaving a hook. And that hook allows me to contact you on Monday. Thank you very much for coming out. But start a conversation. Hey, did you go to those properties that I sent you? They're going to say, yes, they did. I'm going to ask them, hey, which one was your top two? They're going to give me the top two. Then I'm going to say for the number one slot, how would you rate it from a 0 to 10? 10 being you love it and you want to buy it today. They typically will provide me with a 7 or an 8, never a 10. Therefore, I'm going to ask them, what will make it a 10? A bigger backyard, another bedroom, a cul-de-sac. Great. I know of properties that may fit that. When can we hop on a Zoom to talk more about it? This gives me the opportunity to really connect with them and take away that boring open house experience that most agents still provide today.
I love that, man. Thank you for providing that. Um, for those who may not want a door knock, or let's say the community has, rules, or township has rules against, door knocking or whatever, how can someone kind of achieve similar results or kind of go about it minus the door knocking piece?
So door knocking is something that I don't find intimidating at all. I think we all should at least experience it once with a friend before knocking it. But if you do not like door knocking, I do recommend that you send letters in the mail and you give them a call. And you send letters in the mail with no return address. Most people will read the return address and look it up first if they don't recognize it. But handwrite the envelope, name, and then inside of the flyer, handwrite a note. This way, a person is going to likely open it, so 100% open rate. They're going to be able to read it, see your face, see that you took the time to write something in there. But then, only then, when you mail them out this letter, mail it to yourself as well. So send out 2. When you get the letter, that's going to trigger you to now make the phone call. And all you're going to do is call them and say, hey, wanted to know if you got my flyer in the mail. They're going to say we did or we didn't. And if they did, you want to ask them what their thoughts were. And if they didn't, you want to tell them what the letter was about and start your conversation from there.
I love it, man. How many pillars? Because this we call, right, like a pillar of generating business, right? And some people might have one pillar, some people have multiple. What's your suggestions for new agent, right? Because there's so many ways one can go about building their business, and it's easier to get lost if you're just trying to look everywhere and you're actually going to be just window shopping and you're not going to get anything done, right? So what's your suggestion to new agents on, picking how they're going to go about getting business and navigating that process?
Absolutely. I think that's very important, even in this climate that we're dealing with right now. And the number one thing that all agents, well, let's just go over the pillars. So there's never an exact amount, but I'm just going to name a few. The first pillar is going to be finding your specialty. What are you special for? What makes you special? What do you want to work on? Is it probates? Is it divorcees? Is it first-time homeowners? Is it buyers? Is it, when I say buyers, I'm talking buyers that have already purchased before, maybe second-time purchasers. Is it downsizers, upsizers? So lock in a target audience. The next pillar is going to be linguistics, communication. You should always be sharpening your saw when it comes to upgrading the way you're communicating, because your voice, and we posted this today on our page, your voice is your personality. And you need to make sure that you are making that personality very rapport friendly, meaning that you are building rapport instantaneously with your base. You're talking to them, you're talking to their pain points, you're understanding them, and you also understand how to get to the closing. And the third pillar that we can go into is systems. Make sure you are prepared for the business that you are wanting. A lot of us say we want to be a high producing agent, but don't have a high producing agent system ready to take on it. And the last thing is going to be contracts. Contracts, contracts, contracts. If you're going to be a successful agent, you need to understand contracts. Most agents, and I'm going to make this known, most agents are sending out DocuSigns and dot loops for e-signatures without reviewing. They just filled it out because it's automated. They send it to their clients. Their clients will send it back, and they will go ahead and submit the offer. Not explaining anything to their clients, not giving them perspective of creative ways to exit this contract just in case things are not favorable. All right, we have to do better at this. So if you focus on those, I know for a fact you're going to have success.
I love that. Finding specialty, having the right, target audience, focusing on your linguistics and communication, having the right system, and knowing the contract. So powerful to know the contracts because I think it makes you a better representative for your clients. When you know the contracts, you know all the options, you know the strategies, you know how to play chess, right? And not checkers, essentially, as you're negotiating a deal and as you're working through a transaction. And you're getting the best for your client.
Correct.
I want to go back to the system part without going into too much. Just like, what does that mean? If someone, is new to real estate and they heard you say you got to have the right systems, without giving a whole class on it right now, like what's what does that mean?
So just a follow-up system, an intake system, a CRM, right? A customer management system, right? Understanding that we have to have something that allows us to that input the client's information that's going to remind us to make those calls, but also make sure that we are setting people up for auto emails, making sure that our clients are scheduled to get those properties when they pop up on the market. Make sure that you have a system for the follow-up. And I said that twice because follow-up is king. When you are going after a client or a listing or an off-market deal, following up with that person will ultimately prevail if they haven't already made a choice with someone else. So following up, knowing when to follow up, knowing who you're talking to and how many times you're reaching out to them. So if you're going to be looking at a farm and you're going to say, hey, I want to dominate this farm. Okay, let's set up a system. What's the first step to the system? Identify where they are. Second step to the system, connect with them either by a letter or a phone call. Third step to the system is going to be one of the other ones that you didn't do, phone call or door knock. All right. And also making sure that you are involving yourself in the community. So building up in this system, because I don't want to get it confused. When people hear systems, a lot of times they think automated. They think plug it in, forget about it, and this computer is going to be my business.
This is going to generate the business for me.
Correct. That's not the business. The system is your everyday activity. Your system is saying, hey, this week I'm going to make 100 calls. I'm going to make 100 calls and I'm going to mail out 50 flyers. That's going to be my prospecting system to now, because again, those are going to be your leading indicators. Your lagging indicators are going to be your closed transactions. So making sure that there is a system. And the best way to do this for those listening is write down what you want to accomplish the day before. So if you want to make 15 calls tomorrow, you want to get one listing presentation done, you want to present to a buyer, write those down the night before. And then I want you to send out your emails on a schedule, meaning you're going to be writing your emails out, maybe to those buyers or maybe to a couple of lenders. And then you're going to schedule those emails for the next morning at 7 a.m., even if you're not awake. They're going to come out at 7 a.m. You're going to wake up, get your coffee, get ready to hit the ground running. You're going to see the responses to those emails because they now think you're working. And you're going to now start your day moving towards those goals. It could be, hey, are you still looking in this area to buy a house? Question mark. That pops in their email at 7 a.m. They reply, yes, I am. You're going to reply back, when can we jump on the Zoom? I have available slots today between 1 and 4. Boom. So now you woke up replying to some business, and now you're locking in. Instead of sending them that email at 9 o'clock, they don't reply to 10. They're at a meeting, they're in lunch, and you don't even get back to them until later on in the evening. And now you're back to square one. So systems.
I love it. So much value there. When it comes to following up, is there, like a basic philosophy or some rules of thumb about following up. It's one of the biggest gaps in our industry. I mean, I think we all see the stats, the number of people who don't follow up. Um, so I think like 60 some percent of leads never actually get replied to. So yeah, is there kind of just a basic, follow up, getting started on follow up?
Yeah, put them in your phone, your text message. A lot of the agents that I talk to and work with, they utilize their business emails a lot. And I also tell them that you want to have your own email separate from your brokerage. This way that you always keep your clients if there's ever a change in brokerage down the line, but you're in your phone a lot anyway. So send a text message to your prospect, to your client, and make sure that you ensure you putting in your whole signature, your name, your title, your company, your email, your website. Make sure you have that written in there, but write out their name. Hey, Tom Madison, are you still interested in buying, a property in 1967 zip code? You're going to return, put your signature, send it, right? Your phone is now going to identify this person's name is Tom Madison. So they're going to put that at the top as a maybe, okay? You're going to you're going to text message him. He may not get back to you. But what you're going to do is when you have downtime or when you're on your phone going through your text messages, you can scroll back. You're going to see that there's never been a reply. That's going to prompt you. And again, this is something that we're already doing. We're in our phones hundreds of times per day. We're not in our computers going through our CM or our CRM, especially if we got 1,000 notifications telling us we're not doing our job. We're going to take a step back and say, I don't want that anxiety today. I want to just live my life. However, you're going to be on social media. You're going to be text messaging your friends and family. But then when Tom does message you back, you're going to see it pop up on your phone. You can engage with him, or when you're searching, scroll back or type his name into the search box. I wonder what Tom's doing. Type in Tom. You're going to see a couple of messages. Maybe you mentioned the word tomorrow, or maybe, Tom's going to be in there, but tomorrow has TOM in it, so it's going to pop up. However, it's now categorized in your phone. So if you change your brokerage, you still got the leads. They're yours.
Man, I'm like looking at the time because we're running out of time. There's so many questions I want to ask, but so I'm trying to pick what questions to ask. You mentioned leading indicators and lagging indicators. Can you quickly tell us what that is for someone who's not familiar with them?
Yes. So a leading indicator is going to be the things that you do in search of a deal, in search of progress. And the lagging is going to be the result of that action. So a leading indicator right now is I'm on a podcast speaking with you, having this phenomenal time, giving information to new real estate agents. A lagging indicator is going to be more subscriptions, more people coming into our master classes, more brokerages reaching out for training, because those are the things that I'm doing for that result. So you have to make sure that every day you're including at least 2 hours to do your leading indicators, calls, emails, text messages, videos, Zoom presentations, or door knocks, and of course, networking.
So in other words, your leading indicators are the activities that you're doing, right?
Correct.
And then your lagging indicators are the results of those activities. And you might not have really direct control over that result because you can't always control the outcome, but you can control the activities, your input, right?
Correct.
So, training is a big thing. And I feel like this podcast has been a lot of training. So, thank you for that and dropping so many nuggets and helpful tips. Why is training and continuous learning so important in our profession?
So that's a great question. Training is extremely important in our industry of real estate. Number one, we need to raise the professional bar, and we need to have more control over the experience that our clients are going through in the process of buying and selling real estate. This is why I am so adamant and passionate about training. We have a 87% failure rate for real estate agents in the first 5 years and a 92% failure rate in the first 12 months. And that now has been accelerated due to a lot of the friction that we're seeing in our industry. So training, linguistics training, contract training, these are the trainings that need to be in the forefront. Product knowledge, market specialization also need to be in the forefront. We have to get better at bringing our clients more knowledgeable experiences and understanding how to ask for the business. We're seeing more and more listings come out with zero commission to the buyer's agent. That will force a lot of buyer's agents to either get better at communication and speaking to your buyers in that first interview, in that first conversation, or it's going to push them out of the business. So we need to see a lot more trainers evolve and change what they have been doing and redirect it to these major and urgent issues, which is why we fight as hard as we can. Myself, myself and you really take it to the next level with your consistency. And you do a lot of CE training. That's one of my dreams, is to finally be a CE trainer. So again, training is imperative, especially now. It's very similar to what global warming is to our planet. It's right. If we do not stop this barrier to entry from going in a lower direction, we need to raise it up, because people who are becoming realtors and real estate agents in our communities are, in truth, economic developers. And if we have uneducated economic developers, we're not developing in the proper way. So training is uber important.
So I have two questions on what you just said, and then we'll move forward to kind of wrapping things up and ask you some last minute or closing questions there. Um, when you talk about other trainers and need to evolve, there's a lot of misinformation there, right? And people like yourself and me, and we're really focused on giving valuable information to people. There's a lot of marketing gimmicks. There's a lot of clickbait stuff. There's a lot of products and services out there that are dangled for real estate agents, and they're not I mean, they don't always produce great results, right? But they can be costly, and there's vanity. You mentioned the word we were talking earlier. Is there? What can you caution agents from just about all that other stuff? All the misinformation, all those training stuff.
Yeah, that's a big issue that we're dealing with right now. And I'm going to sum that up in 4 words: assume nothing, verify everything. Right? This is our mantra here at the New Agent Handbook, making sure that you are questioning it all, including your broker. There are countless agents in a stuck situation in which they feel they're stuck. Their brokerage is giving the same old trainings to the same old friends, to the same old people. And yes, those people were successful, but are they truly teaching you and preparing you for the future? The future of AI, the future of demographical data, the future of data entirely, the future of our industry as far as communication. It's so many times where I hear trainers talk highly on how to become a millionaire and how to make 100 grand a month and those numbers, but I don't hear those top speakers and trainers talking about linguistics, communication, being able to relate to our community, being able to have a more diverse approach. Right. One of the things that I'm going to push for heavily as I ascend in my career here, as on the board and serving in other capacities, is really making sure that every person has to get the At Home with Diversity certification, understanding that our world is changing. There are a lot of things happening and a lot of people still underserved. So we have to make sure that if we're going to bring in that vanity and that explosive feel and that quick, easy hack to get you to the next deal, then we equally have to show love and precedence to some of these issues, all of these issues. So again, those trainers, kudos to them, but their time is limited.
Awesome, man. Well, I love it, and I'm looking forward to all the great things that you and I will do, and all the people that we will serve. Um, just some quick questions. If you were a struggling new agent right now, what were maybe 1 to 3 things that you would focus on? And you might have already mentioned it, but just to kind of emphasize it for folks.
Yeah. So a struggling new agent right now, first thing I would do is I would go to the website bidforassets.com. That is BID, the number 4, the word assets.com. That's going to give you a list of foreclosures or tax foreclosures within your state. Click your state, you will see all the properties. They allow you to go out 3 months. And those are the people who need to sell now. Those are the people who are under distress now. So as a new agent who is struggling, your focus should be the now. People who need to sell now. For sale by owners is another one. Go to Zillow.com. Call every single for sale by owner that you can possibly see on your screen. Don't get don't get discouraged if they say no. Just kindly thank them for their time and go on to the next one until you have completed every single for sale by owner on that screen. And the last thing is, I would make sure that you're reaching out to the agents in your office, the top agents, the ones who are, having a good time. They're going out every day, they're partying, living good at the beach. Call them and ask them something very simple. Hey, what's going on, Angie? How are you? This is Javier from the office. Just wanted to reach out to you to see, was there any clients that you feel that you're not giving 100% to, so I could jump in because I'm hungry and I'm looking for more deals and I know I can be an asset to you and your business. That person may say to you, no, I don't have anybody, or there is a couple of people I have. I have a long list of renters that I don't want to deal with, or I have a lot of these buyers that credit is not that great, or I have other buyers on my listing and I don't want to be a dual agent. Thank you very much for calling me. Now I'm going to let you do it. Or I have an open house coming up. You want to sit that? I'm going to put $500 towards the advertisement. This way you get buyers pulling in. Call every single agent in your brokerage and even call your broker. Put everybody to the test because you will then find who is truly in your corner. And these are very, very crucial moments as a new agent because we tend to feel that we have to go through struggle. This is a part of the process. We have to go through, hit the alarms. This is the way it's supposed to be. No, there are people in your brokerage who don't want to work, and they will gladly give you a commission for helping them make their experience with their client top tier.
That's very true. And the same tips apply to seasoned agents too, right?
Yeah.
Who may be looking for ideas to generate some new business and or get the wheels moving a little bit. Is there anything else to add for seasoned agents? Maybe they've been in the business. Business was good, but it hasn't been good lately.
So for seasoned agents, my only advice is contact your previous buyers and your previous deals, and then let them know how the property has grown in equity. Give them options on how they can utilize the equity and show them how they can become investors. Reach out to them and let them know, hey, did you know that your community is now at a $500,000 price point? So glad we got in at 2017, right? They're going to say, yeah. Also, there's an area in our community you can buy properties and bring in a passive stream of income between $1,000 to $2,000 a month. Would you like to learn more? That person may say, I do. Why? Because AI is threatening my industry, so I'm going to need another source of income. An investment property will do me just good. So now you've created an investor from a previous client in the past.
Awesome. I love that. I just want to go back to your distressed properties and foreclosures for a second.
Yep.
Especially for those who haven't been investors and haven't dealt with that side of things. Okay, yeah, they get somebody on the phone or they get an appointment. How can they go about just navigating that? And obviously with the banks, with the lenders, with whoever the lien holders are, what quick tips do you have for folks on that so that they can feel confident when they're talking in front of a seller who needs help?
Yes, absolutely. And I want to just preface this with making sure that everybody understands that there is an emotional environment within those homes. So make sure when you are reaching out, you are preparing yourself for that. This is why role play is extremely important. We do it every morning, 8:30 to 9:30 on Clubhouse. So tap in Monday through Friday. Now, going inside of the ways to help, there are 3 ways that we utilize. Number 1 is a loan modification. That doesn't come along with a commission. Okay, this is a loan modification where all you're doing is helping represent them to the bank, asking about this loan modification. And really, when you're speaking with them, the question you should ask is, what steps have you taken to stop this from happening? They're going to tell you. They may have already checked out the loan modification and they got denied. So therefore, you can go right to number 2. And number 2 is going to be putting the property up for sale. That will allow them to get some sort of income or return that they can then turn around and utilize for a purchase of another property because their credit has not been affected yet. When they go through foreclosure, the credit is going to be hit, and it's going to be difficult for them to get a loan in that near future. So for them to take this route of removing their funds into another home makes the best sense. However, the third option is you reach out to an investor. You let your investors know that you have a homeowner that they would like to remain in their home, and your investor is just going to buy the home for a certain number, definitely above what they owe. Let's just say a home has to go on foreclosure and they're looking for 142,000, but the house is in good condition because you've seen it, and the comps in the area is about 350. Your client, your investor, can now go in and buy that house 160, 180, whatever. But then your tenant, your now owner that turns tenant, will be paying your investor the rental income. So now they just purchased a low off-market buy and hold that gives, and make sure you remember this, you write this in the lease, that it gives the homeowner, previous homeowner, the option of buying it back at a predetermined number. So you are already walking your investor into an acquisition at a good number and a sale with profit built in to the homeowner who they just bought it from. 50% of people who go into foreclosure that walk out with a modification on their mortgage typically get right back into it. So the chances are in that 12-month period, they may not have what it takes to buy back the home. Therefore, your investor now has a property that he got or she got well under market value, and you've helped these people avoid foreclosure.
Love it, man. So many great tips. I myself look forward to rewatching this, re-listening, and taking some things for my business. And I've been taking notes as we've been going. So
and also make sure you guys are checking your state guidelines and checking your state rules. For those of you that may be listening to this across the country, make sure you are researching the rules and guidelines for your state. There are so many different rules when it comes to modifications and when it comes to the options that homeowners have. So make sure you're checking. And the best way for you to do it, go on Google, look it up. Foreclosure rules for Georgia, foreclosure guidelines for Pennsylvania, and you will find a credible source, and just educate yourself before diving onto that website.
Love that, man. Thank you for sharing. Before I let you go, just one last question. If you were speaking on stage, which you do, what would be your big message to real estate professionals? If you had an audience of just real estate professionals, you had one message to share, what would it be?
Man, that's a really good question, man. This was very and I wasn't prepped with any of these questions, by the way. For those
You did a great job.
We're going into this like straight up, like, you know what I mean? No cue at all. So the message that I will give to every single realtor or real estate agent on stage is to remember your why. I want you to, every single day when you get up to serve your community, remember why you decided to be a realtor or real estate agent. It's very important that we continuously recalibrate ourselves, because our industry is not kind, especially if we're not successful with our clients, right? No one is giving you a call, putting money in your pocket if you don't have deals. This is something, and we still have to pay our subscriptions. We still have to pay all of these things. So just remember your why. And there are going to be times where you're not going to be 100% where you need to be. But just remember why you decided to do it. And also understand who your target audience is and get out there and get in front of them. Don't be intimidated if somebody else is in your space. Get out there and showcase what you provide different from every other agent in your entire market. Doesn't matter how many people. And remember that. And go into it with an open heart and a new perspective. Don't take that same perspective of the last interaction you had with somebody in this area or this community and go into the next relationship with that same perspective. Open it up. Get out there and reach out and serve the community. So remember your why.
I love it. If I can challenge you or put you on the spot and ask you about your why.
Oh man.
And you kind of share your passion of why you do all that you do.
Oh man. So for me personally, my why is very embedded into the history of real estate here in America, and understanding that there was some systematic redlining and things going on in the older days, of course not now, that really shaped the communities that I grew up in. And it took me a long time as a real estate professional to truly understand. Oh, sorry about this. I got to plug my computer back in. So it took me a long time as a real estate professional to truly understand the impact and really and educate myself. So my why is really to educate and to elevate those from my communities of the power of real estate, and also to change my entire generational line when it comes to the ownership of real estate. We could do so much with it. And for me, it took me years into my adulthood to even understand that point. And yet I've been in rooms with folks where they have been passing down properties through generations and fueling their dreams and their colleges and their lifestyles through real estate. So my why is really to uncover and to enlighten as many people as possible, but make sure that I'm taking advantage of real estate acquisitions through my own right. My wife and I have purchased a couple of investment properties so far, and we want to continue doing it because we want to have something to leave for our children when there's our time to go. Because we don't know. Life is very short. You could be here one day, gone tomorrow. So we need to make sure that while we're here, we're leaving something behind, but most importantly, something that's going to grow in value and not deplete. Well, it goes up and down. So my why is really tied into my upbringing. It's tied into my future. It's tied into why I speak and why I train agents, and it's really giving back to the underserviced communities in which I belong. So I can make that statement with 100% certainty because I was a part of them and still is in some part.
I love it, man. Well, thank you so much for your time, but also for sharing your passion and for adding so much value to real estate professionals and to anyone who's going to listen to this. Like I said, this was tremendously valuable, even for
Appreciate you.
me, and I'm sure to anyone that will listen, will get a lot out of it. So thank you once again, and
Thank
we'll
you.
do this again.
Appreciate you, man. See
Yes,
y'all
sir.
soon.
Have a good one.